I'm Ryan Walters, that other podcast host that you hate the most, and you're listening to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix.
It is Saturday, November 19th, 2022, 8 a.m. sharp. This is podcast number 125. It's something like, I don't know, number 29 of season 5, some bullshit like that. Who knows? But hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined, as always, by our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to the folks out there.
Hi, folks.
Nailed it. We would love people who chat along with us in the Discord, and we appreciate everyone who has done so, but we would also appreciate if you continue to do so. I know, in the middle of the season, we can hit a bit of a slog. We're very excited in the beginning of the season, and then towards the end a bit. Or not, I shouldn't say towards the end. Towards the middle, we can slow down a bit, and then in the playoffs, we ramp it up again. So we appreciate people needing to take a little time. 20-plus weeks of football can get excruciating, but those of you who continue to chat along all the live-long day in the Discord, we do appreciate you, and we appreciate you continuing to do so, because the more people who chat will encourage more people to chat. It's like a self-fulfilling thing. If no one chats, no one will chat, but if everyone chats, everyone will chat. So we appreciate all the fans out there. Segment start time is down in the description below per usual. And thank you at Levi Oki Illustration on Instagram for all the beautiful art you can see. Probably hitting the threshold for when it would be okay to get get in for a Christmas gift. Probably getting a little late for that, but I'll always recommend it because I think it's a great deal. Obviously, I love my buddy earning a little bit of money, but also I genuinely have used him multiple times for unique drawings and this and that for Christmas and other occasions. So, I wouldn't endorse Caramel Bear as a Christmas gift idea if I haven't done it myself, so I would highly recommend it for people out there, either this year for an anniversary or for a birthday or whatever. So hit up at Levi Oki Illustration on Instagram. Josh, how we doing this morning, pal?
Dying.
That was gross. You can't make those noises into a mic. We're going to get taken down from all our platforms, dude.
You got to mark it not safe for work, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I do mark it explicit, but that's like gore almost. That's a whole different kind of explicit.
Yeah, well, we were talking a little bit yesterday on my day off that Ash has been sick, and of course a little booger monster got me sick too, and so it's that picture of the kid that looks super stoned, the little black kid, and it says, "I'm feeling it." I'm feeling it. But Jesus. I'm doing what I can to stay healthy. I've eaten an entire container of Vicks Vapor Rub today already.
The way God intended.
Yeah. I mean,
how's it taste?
It tastes like health.
Do you use it in place of the milk in your cereal or what?
No, garlic. It's a buttery substance, so I just lathered it up on some toast.
Delicious.
But
disgusting.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit today. But
we should make the podcast a little marathon sesh too. Holy shit, is Caramel Bear alive right now? Shout out to Caramel Bear. I don't think we've seen him in the audience for 17 years. Maybe he can.
He's lost.
Maybe he wants to give you some chicken. I love football. I'm not convinced. So you're saying we should do a 2-hour marathon podcast then, since you're not feeling well? Maybe this will perk you up.
Yeah, totes my goats. But yeah, Gar, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. About every other Friday night I work. Not quite every other Friday night, but we do about 2 concerts a month at the old Cino. And, I was driving home last night, and so I'm in a line of probably a good line of 8 cars, and it's a single-lane highway, so I'm just like, all right, I can just exist here. I'm in no rush, because that would have been a lot of work to try and pass people and get in front. But then, I'm just driving along, probably about 3/4 of the way home, and then this fucking deer comes out of nowhere, as they fucking do, these fucking little creatures that shout out to all the hunters, keep killing all the deer. But I don't know if I perfectly Tokyo drifted this deer or what, but I swear I should have this deer probably would have sideswiped me, actually. I wouldn't have hit the deer head on. This deer would have, hit my driver's side. But then I get out, I pull over, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go. But then I look my car up and down, front and back, all along the driver's side, and there wasn't a sign of this deer at all. So I don't know if I perfectly Tokyo drifted, because I know you're not supposed supposed to swerve too much, but I just did like a little bit because I know how big the shoulders are on this county road. And not a single hair on my car. So I don't know what I did or if I should sign up for the next Tokyo Drift movie, 2 Tokyo 2 Drift. But I feel like I got lucky last night. I could have easily smoked a deer, but we walked away, apparently with no scratches. Walters, I'm a trained professional, okay? I used to drive for a living. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, you also crashed in a car wash, so.
Well, that was a 5-mile-per-hour crash. That's a little different, Josh. You almost murdered me about 50 times in the old Saturn on the way home from Blaine, so I don't want to hear it.
But did we die?
Well, we probably should have a couple times. You and Jamie both really wanted to fucking murder me.
Yeah, well, Jamie drove through her own garage, so.
That is correct. But I'm doing good.
Yeah. Good. Good to hear, buddy. Good to hear.
Yeah. You ready to move on to some start-sit? Thank you. Eric's gets it. I know he's in Latvia, but he's another man that deals with the snow and the deer. This guy fucking gets it. All right, Josh, let's go ahead and move on here to the start-sit. How did we do last week, Mr. Start-Sit Commish?
Well, we did about average with what we usually do, 3 out of 5. But we were in the positive, plus 15.5. Overall, 29 out of 50 with a positive 108.58. So we're killing it.
The old 3/5 compromise is our average, huh?
Hell yeah, brother.
All right, cancel, Josh. You heard him. He just encouraged the 3/5 compromise. You're canceled, Josh. We got you. Hold on. We got a sounder just for this. Hold on. Where is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Get fucked, Josh. You're canceled. Sorry, who do we got first?
Well, I was just going to say that, last week, because I do this through Reddit as well. Like, I submit my picks, and last week I was 9 out of, 10,000. No big deal. And now I'm in the top 100 overall. But moving on, we've got the Herders. That's Derek Carr at Denver versus Taylor Heineke at Houston. Gar, do you like any of these guys?
I mean, that Denver defense is actually better than you think. And the Houston, I don't know. I've never been a firm believer in Taylor Heineke, but let's go ahead and look at the tail of the tape. Of course, Denver has already played, or I should say Derek Carr has already played Denver once this year. He only got about 11.5 fantasy points. He had 21 completions for 188 yards with no tuds, couple rushes, and what is this, 2 picks? No, 2 sacks. Okay. But so yeah, less than 12 fantasy points last time they played, and he's projected even less this time. It's in Denver, so I have no reason to believe that Derek Carr is going to break 13 fantasy points, at least based on historical trends. Then you go over to Taylor Heineke. Last week against Philadelphia in Philly, he only put up 6 fantasy points, which is disgusting. Houston, I guess, is the best. I mean, can I pick neither? I'd rather punch myself in the face. Is that possible?
Yeah, I could help you with that.
I mean, I guess looking at it this way, Taylor Heineke has played 4 games, and he's only broken 20 once. Derek Carr has broken 20 0 times this season. So with that logic, I'll go with Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was leaning to, just because that Denver defense is really good. I think they've, I think I read a stat that if their offense could score 20 points, each game, they would have a really good record, but they can't. So I was leaning Heineke. I'm with you. I'm not necessarily a firm believer in him. I posted in the Discord after the Eagles game on Monday, or during the Eagles game on Monday, that he just looks like the kind of guy that would call fouls playing pickup basketball when he misses a layup. Could be just little ticky-tack fouls. He just looks like that kind of guy. Plus, if you're smart enough to kick through a glass window and end up on the IR, you're probably a little bit weird.
Bro, we're cycling through people. Eric's had showed up. Al is now in the audience. We're just flying through the lovely fans today.
Yeah. People up here to join and to unsubscribe.
Yeah, exactly. All right, but Heineke, is that the call?
Yeah. Now we've got the next ones are the RB dead zones. So guys that were probably drafted in rounds 5 through 8 in your draft. We've got Dameon Pierce versus Washington, or Ramondre the Giant Stevenson versus New York Jets.
What do you think here first, Josh?
Well, I like both guys. They're both going up against solid defenses, though. So it's just more so like, which one do you think is going to have that home run play? I do think that the defensive line for Washington is really good, and they might be getting Chase Young back. I guess I haven't necessarily.
I believe
seen
it's
updates.
not this week.
Not this week. Okay,
Last I heard.
But even then, it's not necessarily like they're doing bad. They're getting a ton of pressure and sacks, and so. But I guess I'd lean Stevenson just because of the pass game and his involvement in that. But the New York Jets defense is solid too. So right now, my gut's telling me Stevenson.
If you're looking at the tail of the tape here, Stevenson is, he is kind of really, they're actually have more similar, stories than not. Dameon Pierce was, of course, not the lead back to start the season, but around week 3 is when he really turned it on. Ramondre Stevenson, kind of the same deal. He only had 2 single-digit games until week 3, where he has, he's been in the double digits ever since. And so they've both been fairly consistent. They're both, solid RB2s. Stevenson's an RB1 in PPR. So I'll go ahead and I'll lean Stevenson with you just for that passing. I know you and I play in a lot of PPR formats, and so for that reason, I will go ahead and I'll lean into Stevenson with you in the PPR. Dameon Pierce is obviously a very solid back. I think they both should have double-digit floors this week, as they have pretty much all year since week 3. But yeah, if we're picking between the two, I'll take Stevenson, no problem with you, pal.
Yeah, just for the sake of the deflate these balls league, I'm projecting Stevenson to put up 400,000.
All right, Josh, let's go ahead and move on to our next category here, the waiver receivers. Most people probably didn't draft Van Jefferson because I think he get banged up in preseason, or either that or week 1. I can't remember because I thought he was healing an ailment from last year. I don't fully remember. But anyways, Van Jefferson has now been thrust into the lead receiver role because Allen Robinson fucking stinks in that LA Rams offense. So it's Van Jefferson at Nolans in a hostile environment, or we got Terrace Marshall at Baltimore, who has turned it up the last couple weeks. Former LSU, had to sit behind Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I believe I'm getting this right. But yeah, that's who we got. Josh, got some waiver receivers here who have now been thrust into a more important role. How are we feeling about Van Jefferson or Terrace Marshall?
Well, I guess it all depends because you own Van in a couple leagues, don't you?
I do. I'm a big Van guy.
So if you were to drop him in the deflate these balls league, he'd probably go off this week. But
because I'm holding him, he'll have a shit week.
Yeah, similar to the Robert Woods situation this past game.
Still in standard scoring, you put up 4 or 5 points. I mean, it's just receivers are so tough in standard. Standard fucking
that's
stinks.
True. Yeah, it does, but don't tell that to anybody.
He put up 9.9. Oh no, that's in half point PPR. He would have only put up 7.6, or how many yards did he have? 6.9 points. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, but no, that was a joke. But Terrace Marshall, both of them going up against okay defenses, pretty solid defenses. I'm not leaning one way or the other. I call them waivers because that's probably where I'd leave them. But that's do you have any preference one way or the other?
I mean, we really, even with Van Jefferson kind of being eased back into the offense, I mean, he, even just last week, he only had a 28% snap share, so I don't know if they've just been trying to ease him in. He had 3 receptions for 27 yards. He did get in the end zone, so it's always nice to get a touchdown. New Orleans secondary is probably a bit better than the Baltimore secondary. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick Terrace Marshall just because he has actually done a little bit of something. Last week, he only put up 4.8 fantasy points and half-point PPR, only 1 reception for 43 yards. So a very efficient reception, but just the one. But his snap share has been, high 80s, low 90s. So if you're making me pick between the two, Van Jefferson has plenty of opportunity. And because I'm telling you don't start him, he will now get 50 fantasy points. But, I feel like I have to go Terrace Marshall just because he looks like he's already involved more than Van. So
Yep. No, I think the Van is going to stall, so I'll go Terrace Marshall as well.
Oh no, poor Laura, dude.
Up next, we've got the Poopers, Pat Freiermuth versus Cincinnati, or Greg Dulcich versus Las Vegas. I'm just going to go right off the bat and say I'm leaning Muth versus Cincy because I had Dulcich in FanDuel last week, and he put up a stinker. He's got Mr. Unlimited himself as quarterback, and he's very limited this year. So I'm
Unlimited.
God, I really hope Russell Wilson, just when he retires, all these controversial things come about him, like having a doll collection in his basement and all of these weird things.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this one because, of course, Dulcich missed a good chunk of the season. He didn't emerge until week 6, and even then, he was probably getting eased in a bit. Last week, Pratt Freiermuth led the team in targets. He had 7 targets and secured 4 of them for 36 yards. Did not get into the end zone, so that's tough. But we're definitely seeing some volume from Muth, but it's probably not a high value volume. Whereas Dulcich last week, he only caught 1 fucking pass for 11 yards. He did have 4 targets, which is nice. But I really don't know what to do with either of these. I mean, I guess I feel like Freiermuth probably has the higher floor, but when we're talking like fringe tight ends, do you even want the higher floor? I don't know. Since Eric's was nice enough to show up this morning, he's a Steelers fan. I'll say Freiermuth just because, I mean, when you're not a top 2 tight end, does it really fucking matter?
Nope. Moving on to people.
They're all people, Josh.
Yeah, no, they are all people. We've got Jamal Williams at the New York Giants, Gabe Davis versus Cleveland. I put an asterisk there because it was just going to be between those two, but with Buffalo trying to imitate the North Pole, they're not sure they're going to get out. The plane scheduled for this afternoon. They're working on clearing their pathways to get to the airport. But we'll see.
They're picking everyone up in snowmobiles, pal.
Yeah, no, I mean, I offered to drive out there to get Josh Allen to the game, but I'd take Kyle Oden, maybe a couple sleds.
How the fuck did we end up in Saskatchewan?
Well, they're dumb doggies, so. But if that game gets canceled or postponed, which is still possible, I guess, Garrett Wilson would be the other option. So would you rather have Jamal at New York or Davis or Garrett this week?
I mean, Jamal, again, so here's probably the one player who's really benefited from the standard scoring over the PPR. Jamal Williams is a top 10 running back in standard scoring. He has had quite the nose for the end zone this year. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns through 9 games so far this year. So, I mean, that's pretty good average. He had 16 carries for 59 yards last week. His snap percentage is usually below 50%. But we have definitely seen that DeAndre Swift is he's not going to be fully healthy, it appears, this year. So I don't know what to do about that. Giants have been pretty stout this year. But Detroit also surprises people. They just upset the Packers a couple weeks ago and upset Chicago also last week. So who knows what's going on with that Detroit team. But Jamal Williams is definitely, he's a sneaky good player, solid RB2 in PPR, sneaky RB1 in standard scoring. Gabriel Davis is so hit and miss, it fucking hurts me. He's got 16 points, then 5 points, then 1 point, then 30 points, then 15 points, then 4, then 4, then 18. So, I mean, he's going to get you 4, he's going to get you 20. We were going to get to this later in the show, but what do you think about this whole deal? So let's assume the Buffalo Bills do make it up to Detroit. Does this really fuck with the game or fuck with the whole process? Because, of course, it's supposed to be a home game. Now they're playing in Detroit. They don't quite have that home field advantage. I assume a lot more Cleveland fans are going to make it to Ford Field over the Bills Mafia. Does that fuck with the psyche of a player? I know you can't really relate to this exact situation, but what do you think what kind of effects do you think that has on players? Getting jarred out of their home stadium, having to deal with all this snow bullshit, not even really being able to prepare for the game because they have to deal with the logistics of life just to play the game.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I see this as kind of a disadvantage for Buffalo because, like you said, I think they only had 1 real practice this week. Because they had to cancel due to illness on Wednesday for a bunch of guys and then the snow itself. So yeah, I could definitely see this messing with the psyche, but they are professionals. They're supposed to get used to this. I mean, home teams in, the London games and Germany and Mexico City, it's not a home game essentially. So, and so I don't know. It's a unique situation. But I would say that, I don't think it matters all that much. It's more so just the travel aspect and all of that and, kind of having to prepare differently.
Sure. All right. Well, with that said, I don't know about Gabe Davis, but I still have one more player to talk about, so maybe I'll convince myself when I'm talking about Garrett Wilson here. But Garrett Wilson, of course, has been a pretty good rookie receiver. Not super consistent. He started the season hot, and then he really kind of disappeared week 4 through week 7. A bunch of single-digit games, very disappointing. Only a couple receptions in each of those games. But then he kind of turned it back up against New England, then against Buffalo. I do believe they had Breece Hall last time they played New England, so I'm sure Billy B was much more concerned with shutting down Breece Hall. Would you say Garrett Wilson is now the Jets' number 1 threat, probably? Because I don't know that anyone's that intimidated by Michael Carter. So if Billy B is always trying to take away your number 1 thing, is he now taking away Garrett Wilson, or is he taking away Michael Carter? Or what do you think the number 1 threat is on that Jets team?
I think the number 1 threat on that Jets team is probably the Jets
Zach
themselves.
Wilson, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think that, yeah, they'll probably have a focus on Garrett just because he is going to be that bigger playmaker. Sorry, I'm dying. But so,
right,
yeah.
We only got
say,
about 10 more minutes, pal. You can make it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm a hesitant. I'm leaning Jamal in this situation overall. And that's because, yeah, I don't understand what Walters is saying there.
He's saying the number 1 threat. There you go. He edited. But I guess the reason I asked the question is because last time they played, Garrett Wilson was able to put up 14.5 fantasy points and half-point PPR. He had 7 targets for 6 receptions and 115 yards. So a pretty solid game, honestly, against New England. But, you know, I don't know what the game script's going to be this week. With all this said, I guess I'm going to take Jamal Williams just for the floor. I think Gabe Davis, of the 3, certainly has the highest ceiling. And if you're Al, you're probably going to tell me I should have taken Gabe Davis because now Gabe Davis will get 50 fantasy points this week. But if you're making me pick between Jamal Williams, Gabe Davis, or Garrett Wilson, I'll take Jamal Williams just because it seems like he's got a real nose for the end zone, and he's going to get his opportunities even if the snap percentage isn't there. It's been really, really quite the split backfield, and yeah, he's averaging what? He's averaging, you know, double-digit carries every single game, so that's pretty good. And with 10 touchdowns so far this year, or 9 touchdowns so far this year, I'll take Jamal Williams myself. So unless you really want Gabe Davis for the ceiling, we'll call it Jamal and move on.
I already typed in Jamal.
Oh, wow. We can't go back now. I don't even got white out. Every time I put white out on my computer screen, it fucking fucks it up. So I guess we'll just have to leave it.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, you ready to move on to some FanDuel fun?
Yeah.
All right. Who do you like? Who's a favorite of yours in the FanDuel podcast play along this week, pal?
I liked Tyler Algier for 6,000, running back for Atlanta Falcons.
Sure.
He got his touches even with Cordarrelle coming back, and I do think that he's not necessarily taken over that top role, but it's going to be a 50-50 split where they're going to try and get him some carries.
All right. I like Danny Dashes. I mean, we just saw what Justin Fields could do last week. I know some people are now calling Danny Dashes Vanilla Vic, so whatever you prefer your nickname to be for old Daniel Jones. But I like Danny Dashes for 7,800. That Detroit defense has been giving up so many points historically, like, you know, historically bad defense. So I like it's not racist. The racism is systematic, and you can't. No, I'm not even gonna get this competition. It's not racist to call him Vanilla Vic. But I like Danny Dashes for 7,800, and I like Dalton Schultz, tight end for Dallas. He's only 5,900, so you know more expensive as far as tight ends go. But we've seen the Vikings defense usually let someone give it up, and Dawson Knox had plenty of opportunities just last week. You know, he didn't necessarily convert on all of them, but I don't know if that was on Dawson Knox or not. So I like Dalton Schultz for 5,900. He should be able to put up 10 fantasy points, I think. What about bust, Josh? We always like to pick a FanDuel bust of the week. Who do you think is bussin' this week, pal? Not bustin', excuse me.
I went with Alvin Kamara, 7,500. He has had a couple good games here and there, but I just don't see him doing anything of value because he's on my dynasty team.
Suck at Kamara. I think he'll be sitting on my bench. I don't know. He's probably in my starting lineup at this point. But anyways, my FanDuel bust of the week, I'm going to go ahead and take Nick Chubb. I know we just talked about, all these Buffalo Bills players struggling because they have to deal with all these bullshit logistics thanks to the snow-nami. But we saw the Buffalo defense largely shut down Dalvin Cook last week. Of course, he popped off that 81-yarder, whatever it was, 91-yarder, whatever it was, that really long run. But otherwise, he had like 13 carries for 40 yards or something like that. So, I'm hoping, I shouldn't say I'm hoping, but I'm thinking that the Buffalo Bills will be able to similarly shut down Nick Chubb. I do think Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook both have that elite, could break a huge run at any time. But, some would say Dalvin Cook just got lucky. So let's go ahead and say Nick Chubb won't get that lucky. And so at 8,400, Nick Chubb will probably still put 10 fantasy points. He might find the end zone like he does every year or every week. But, I'm thinking Nick Chubb will not be very good value in FanDuel this week, and so therefore he is my bust. And yeah, that's our FanDuel fun. Josh, let's go ahead and move into the sleeper over/under contest. It appears you quit. You're done with it. Nikita's cut you off. You can't lose any more money, or what?
Yeah, no, I had to take out a second mortgage on the house, so I quit.
Isn't Sterling Shepard on IR? Didn't he tear his Achilles, Walters? Or you? Sorry, in the chat, for we're talking about the FanDuel, Walter said New York Giants stack, Danny Dashes and Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard fucking tore his Achilles, did he? Are you talking
yes,
Darius Slayton? Daniel Bellinger? What is, I don't know. I'm not gonna, but anyways, you got cut off by your wife?
Yep.
All right. Well, I am back. We got T into the Ben's G generation of gamblers. So I had to get back in the game. I couldn't let my little cousin show me up. So I got a bunch of contests I like this week. I like Justin Fields over on 69.5 rush yards. I like Deonta Foreman over 56.5 rush yards. I like Brian Robinson, B-Rob Bulletproof over 64.5 rush yards. I believe they're playing Houston. I like Paris Campbell over 10.7 fantasy points. I believe that's full PPR. And Paris Campbell continues to go off when Matt Ryan is in the game, so that seems like a slam dunk. I like Danny Dashes over 18.1 points, and I like Michael Carter over 13.5 receiving yards. And if you don't believe me, I've already entered all these contests, so I've put my money where my mouth is. A full $6 is on the line, $2 per contest. So I like all those. I'm back in the fold. I had to take a break there. I was just losing. When it's only $2 at a time, it's not that dramatic. But I'm now back in the fold because T's in here, and I'll not be shown up by my midget cousin. So I am back, sleeper over/under contest. You're about to, if anyone wants to ride along with me, we're about to take all the sleepers' money. We're about to fucking bankrupt them. So, Josh, yeah. I know you say you quit, but I assume you'll be back in the fold by Sunday morning.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our last little section here before we leave, Josh. I'd rather go with Tiki Barber Giants. All right, Josh, let's go ahead and talk about some storylines for the week. So I don't know, did you end up picking anyone off of the waivers, or did you kind of sit tight this week with your dollars?
I sat tight. I'm in the playoff push. I need my team chemistry to remain strong, so...
All right, yeah, Darius Slayton was probably, he's been up and down on the waiver wire all week, but that was probably one of the biggest ones this week in Van Jefferson if he wasn't already owned. What about some storylines this week, Josh? Do you think we'll see over 7,000 rushing yards in that Chicago at Atlanta game? Obviously, Justin Fields has been going off. David Montgomery's still doing pretty good things. Marcus Mariota's been running around. We've talked about Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson already. Is this going to be the highest rushing total for a game in the history of the universe?
Potentially. I don't know if 7,000 is going to be reached, but 6,000 is kind of a likely number.
All right. Who do you like, Chicago or Atlanta, just for fun?
Chicago.
Oh, all right. I
think I read somewhere that the first team in NFL history to score 29 points and lose all 3 games in a row.
Could be. I honestly don't know.
But yeah, so I would go with Chicago in this situation because Atlanta's, if Atlanta comes out and throws the ball 30 times again, they're going to lose. And if they throw the ball 12 times again, they're going to lose. So,
all right, we've already talked about it a little bit, but do you think Cleveland will be able to sneak one out over Buffalo just from all the chaos? Do you think that ends up in a Cleveland dub, or do you think Buffalo, after losing a couple, is like, all right, we're fucking done with this losing shit. We gotta rock them. What do you think? You think Cleveland can win because of the logistics battle, or what?
Maybe, but no.
All All right, there's blood in the water for the Eagles. The Eagles just got taken down by the Commanders on Monday night, and the undefeated head coach Jeff Saturday is playing them this week. You think Jeff Saturday can overcome the Eagles, or does Jeff Saturday get fucking humbled in his welcome to the NFL moment?
I think he's going to get a little humbled.
A little humble pie?
Yeah. I think that they fed Jonathan Taylor last week quite a bit to get him back on track. But I do think that Eagles defense is pretty stout, and so there's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment than what it was last week.
And they did just sign both Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, so it's like, Jesus Christ, these guys are not messing around. So that's a lot of big names. Of course, those players have lost a step since their prime, but even still, I mean, if you put them on a rotation, if they're playing, 20% of the snaps in the game, they will have some big plays. So that's kind of scary, honestly, to think about. But anyways, Josh, moving on. Sunday night, that's a great divisional rivalry. We've got Kansas City heading over to the Los Angeles Chargers in SoFi Stadium. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen appear like they're back. We won't know until 90 minutes before the game for sure. But these games, even though KC is 3-1, I believe, since Herbert became the starter, these games are always close. Mike Williams seems to always pop off. What do you think about the Sunday night matchup in the AFC West?
I think it's going to be a great game.
All right, you can't get that kind of analysis anywhere else. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you back here on Tuesday night. We appreciate all the people who chat in the Discord. And as always, we want you to stay beautiful. So, yeah, thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you Tuesday night at 8 p.m. sharp. Josh, go ahead and hit your Go Packers so we can leave.
Go Packers.
Bye, everybody. Josh is 4-8 this year and saying go Packers. Josh, how do you feel about that? Stat that.
Go Packers.
Oh, no.
Just going to keep that trend going. I want that first overall. Let's go. Detroit, start winning.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.